I just saw a white girl on my For You page talking about the word black fatigue. She said, "I'm so glad we're finally talking about this. We as a society are sick of y'all."
Black fatigue is when I can hear you 10 miles away in Walmart with your 5 fucking kids. Black fatigue is when you have no home training and you have no idea how to act in public. And a lot of it is culture. I've been in the hood. I've been in the fucking schools and the projects where I was the only white girl there.
When the weakest group of females in existence proudly expose themselves but aren't smart enough to realize it. Because imagine ending up living in the projects next to the very people that you look down on, even though you benefit more than anyone else from DEI, food stamps, and affirmative action. You have an entire system designed and rigged specifically to support your severe mediocrity and admit that you still failed. That's embarrassing.
When majority of y'all know someone who has been unalived by another black person, way more than any instance of a black person being unjustifiably unalived by the police, that's black fatigue. As well as donating to Carmelo Anthony and Rodney Hinton Jr. When you aren't able to hold your own community accountable, that's a problem.
If we're being completely honest, the single solitary thing they spectacularly excel at is breeding the males who dominate every most wanted list in America. Rapists, mass shooters, PDF files, and being the very obedient doormats for these monsters they breed. God bless America. Meanwhile, black women are outpacing the superior males academically and entrepreneurially and doing it with fewer resources and none of the privilege.
And I can 100% guarantee you that it's culture.
Can you define anything about your culture outside of the extensive history of violence, control, and theft? I'll wait. I'd like to give some honorable mention of your consistent achievements, which include weaponizing your tears to end people's lives and bullying 5-year-olds and calling it patriotism. So accomplished.
I just saw a white girl on my For You page talking about the word black fatigue. She said, "I'm so glad we're finally talking about this. We as a society are sick of y'all." The whites are now saying, "I've stayed quiet about this for too long. The ghetto behavior needs to stop." Oh! The term black fatigue was created by a black woman to describe the mental and physical toll that systemic racism has on black people. It does not mean an invitation for white people to talk about how you're sick of black people. I'm at a loss for words. That's probably the most on-brand white person thing I've ever seen. Y'all just expose yourselves completely that you're racist and you don't read. If you're interested, here's the book written by Mary Frances Winters, the woman who coined the term black fatigue. Please educate yourselves, I beg.
Black fatigue is when I can hear you 10 miles away in Walmart with your 5 fucking kids. Black fatigue is when you have no home training and you have no idea how to act in public. And a lot of it is culture. I've been in the hood. I've been in the fucking schools and the projects where I was the only white girl there, and I can 100% guarantee you that it's culture. When majority of y'all know someone who has been unalived by another black person, way more than any instance of a black person being unjustifiably unalived by the police, that's black fatigue. As well as donating to Carmelo Anthony and Rodney Hinton Jr. When you aren't able to hold your own community accountable, that's a problem. We're not going to sit here and act like this is new now, because now white people are speaking out. Especially when we've been told for so long to feel sorry for our whiteness and that we have white tea privilege, whatever the fuck that means, for something no white person alive today did and no black person alive today has experienced. There is no way that y'all thought that we would be quiet for this long. You know, having us on our knees, kissing BLM's feet, still begging for the reparations that you are not fucking owed because you did not go through what your ancestors went through. Nobody cared about race until you started blaming white people for all of your current problems. We're just untolerating it.
I've tried to film this like 10 times. I'm really bad at putting my thoughts into words, but I had to come on here and talk about this black fatigue / ghetto fatigue commentary. Okay, the main defense that I see for this argument is people pulling videos of black people, specifically, most of the time it's black women twerking in public, like other races don't twerk, or statistics on theft in black neighborhoods, okay? The thing is, I can pull up videos of people from each race doing these things because it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with being human. But for some reason, black people are one of the only minority groups of people who are characterized as a whole for the actions of some of them. It's wild. You as a white person don't want to be looked at as racist because not all white people are racist, but you do the same thing. It's fucking ridiculous. I can't stand it.
Saying black fatigue is real is one of the wildest statements I've ever heard. And it's also complete bullshit. Because you weren't oppressed for 250 years. Your ancestors weren't enslaved in America for hundreds of years. Members of your family weren't getting lynched. You weren't having crosses burned into your yard by the KKK. You didn't fight tooth and nail to get basic rights and desegregate America. You're not the one who's dealing with the consequences of systemic racism and redlining that goes back almost 100 years. Don't give me this bullshit about black fatigue when really you're just racist and you're pissed off that the scales are not tipping in your direction anymore. Absolute fucking bullshit.
White people attempting to rebrand white rage by co-opting the term black fatigue as though it's a phenomenon they actually experience but only recently found the language to talk about is both dystopianly weird and tragically on brand. The copying, the whitewashing, the centering themselves by playing victim. But what's ironically telling about it is that the concept of racial battle fatigue is not new. It's been around for decades, and the term black fatigue has been used by black people for quite a while. Mary Frances Winters wrote a book that came out in 2020 titled Black Fatigue, and it describes the mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion that black people experience because of systemic racism. Now, notice how black people didn't call that white fatigue, because the purpose is not to assign blame in order to justify bad behavior. It is called black fatigue because it is a harm that black people experience, and so their focus is on addressing and combating that harm. Whereas when white people talk about experiencing black fatigue, they are not talking about a harm that they experience because of black people or anybody else. They are literally telling on their own inability to live in society with black people. And that's not new either. That's a pathology that has existed for hundreds of years, but call it what it is, white rage.
There was a white woman who has now since deleted her video talking about black fatigue and how she and the rest of society are so fed up with the ghetto and ratchet behavior, the entitlement, the victimhood. Her words, not mine. Couple of things. One, black fatigue is a real thing, but it's not what that lady was saying. Black fatigue is the emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by the daily stress of living under systemic racism and its consequences. So the black community has black fatigue due to the oppression they've lived under in this country since its inception. Two, it never ceases to amaze me how little most white people are willing to look at the true history of this nation and understand that while they personally may not have owned slaves or lynched black people or used black babies as alligator bait or conducted experiments on black people or operated on black women without pain medicine because they didn't think black women could feel pain, they are still benefiting off the society and systems that made those things possible. Racism is deeply rooted in this country from the beginning. We stole this land from the indigenous Native Americans. We brought black people to this country against their will and sold them into slaveries. We ripped their families apart. We have maligned, maimed, and misused the black community since the first ship arrived on the shores of the United States. Do you understand how hard the fight has been to get even a semblance of equality in this country? And now, what little progress we've made is being undone by this administration. Trump and this administration has made people like that woman and the many racist commenters on that post feel comfortable to speak so publicly about their racist views and feelings. Because, spoiler alert, nothing will happen to them. Black people are questioned about everything they do, even if they're just walking down the street. Until this country as a whole accepts responsibility for how we were designed and built, this country will never see true equality.
So, Lovelace, this discourse of black fatigue has actually been a thing on the space of the social platform. It's actually a situation whereby so many bank people are all out to talk about how they are so fed up with the way at which black people are complaining, and they're always complaining and try to play victim. Some of them even go as far as to talk about ghetto characters or ghetto fatigues and all of that. This whole discourse actually started because of a pan-colored woman who decided to go ahead to use the N word on a 5-year-old. You know, this woman in question was in a children park with her baby, and one thing led to the other. A black kid was playing with a toy, like was playing with her baby's toy, and she didn't find that very acceptable. She goes as far as to snatch the toy from the 5-year, claiming that he stole the toy. And on doing that, she decided to use the N word on the 5-year-old, and which actually sparked a lot of conversation on the social platforms. And this also brought about so many pan-colored women coming out to cry and talk about how they are so tired. They are so tired of the constant, black fatigue of black people. They are constant trying to claim or play victims. You know, so many people decided to use the opportunity to also introduce a term called ghetto or black fatigue or ghetto fatigue. With that being said, there are some group of black college students, I think that from HBC students who probably graduated, and they were all celebrating their win. They were all celebrating their win, and all of a sudden another pan colored person was like, why are you all acting so ghetto? Why are you all acting as if graduation is a big deal? Like, hello. There are so many people who went to school who were probably these higher institutions, and they came out being unalived. And now these people who are probably, by his special grace of God, are celebrating their win, and you think you have a need to cancel them and actually, you know, talk to them about how it's all ghetto. Like, everyone have different ways at which they want to celebrate their win. The way I celebrate my win must not necessarily be the way that is so accepted by you. As we all have different faces, different individuals, this is the way at which we all have different cultural backgrounds, and all of that. And this has actually sparked a lot of conversation. More and more pan-colored people are coming out to, to talk about how they are so pissed, they're so tired. Some women also came to talk about how using the N word should be a freedom of speech. How can you, compare using an N word, which reminds people of the terrible way that they were all treated, compare it to a freedom of speech? N word is a racial slur. The more you know that, the more you should be able to accept it. There is no point trying to beat around the bush, trying to make people feel, oh, you shouldn't express yourself, you shouldn't be expressive because you don't want to label, oh, ghetto, oh, black fatigue. Like, this thing is just getting too is getting out of hand in the social platform. And now all I see here is just jealousy. Like sometimes myself, it's not everything that I try to put my mouth in it. Like if someone is doing something that is not acceptable by me, I just scroll past or I just ignore, you know. But these people constantly want to like look for a way to suppress black joy, which is very, very unacceptable. Anyway, lovelies, wanna just leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. Please, lovelies, if not subscribed to this channel, do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, like, and I will see you, lovelies, when I upload the next one.